Hello and welcome to Doubles and Trebles. The World Championship darts is just 6 weeks away. We're in early November. There's only two TV tournaments left between now and Ali Pali, and I'm absolutely sure that Pyman will buy himself some ridiculous tickets to Ali Pali on a day that where he basically can't get there. There's a train strike or he's got something on with the missus, but he'll still go. We've done a recent couple of videos where we've mentioned loads of different players on the European Championship review. We're going to call some players out here. We won't be able to call them all out. The market is pretty much as you were, Pyman, that you would have seen at the start of the year. The usual suspects at the top of the market. Van Gerwen, 3-1 favourite, clear favourite. The last video we did, it was Van Gerwen, Price were a similar price, not anymore. Van Gerwen's a clear favourite, and rightly so, in our opinion. The one to call out, Pyman, and we have got a separate video on this individual, but he has to be called out. Start of the year at 400 to 1 was the first price that this new tall card holder, Josh Rock, went in at. He is now as low as 20 to 1 across the board. That's the top price you can get about Josh Rock. And if you're tuning in for the first time ahead of the World Championship and you only watch darts at Christmas, you're going to say to us, who's Josh Rock? Well, you're going to have to check the description below for a link to that video. But just tell me about this man's price, Pyman.
Yeah, collapsed. Well, you said it, 400s into 20s, and I think he could go lower because I think there's going to be loads of casuals who want to get on this hype train. You know, he's got that good profile, and he young lad, up and coming. You can see all the casual darts fans going like, "Oh, have you heard about this Rock? He's going to be like, you know, the next big thing." You know, and all the young lads are getting their tenors on and stuff. You know, I can see more hype building on this Rock train, and let me tell you, it is a nice train to be sat on the front first class carriage of, because I have been riding this Rock train for the last 9 months, and
Hi,
it is
man.
just
After
coming into
times
the
are not
station.
allowed on this channel, mate. You will get banned. You
There's
will
no
get
after
banned.
timing, no after timing here. You go back on my videos from the last 9 months, all you will hear is Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. It's like the WWF in
Yeah,
the
just look
mid
at my Twitter
90s.
feed.
Yeah, honestly, you don't. There's no after time in here. Anyone who's watched us knows all about Josh Rock. If you're just tuning in now, I'm sorry you've missed the boat on that one. I wouldn't strongly recommend anyone getting involved at the price he is now. Very skinny for someone who's played 2 TV matches in his life. But you know, he's got bags and bags of talent, as you're going to see. He's going to be an exciting player to follow over the next few weeks. And God, nobody wants him in that first round draw at Ali Pali. Another player that I have a video either up or going up about as you watch this is Bo Greaves. She's going to be at Ali Pali after winning 52 straight matches on the women's series. Honestly, a streak that makes The Undertaker look paltry. It's absolutely sensational stuff from the 18-year-old lady. She's going to be going up against the men, and that's another nightmare draw in round one. I saw her put in at 250 to 1 to win at Ali Pali by some suppliers. That's already been nibbled by a few into 200s and 150s. Can Bo Greaves win at Ali Pali? Well, you'll have to check out my video to see if I think she can. But yeah, I mean, she averaged 170 beating Fallon Sherrock, so she's certainly an interesting contender. Not your average lady making up the numbers, shall we say. I'll leave it there. Just looking at the top of the market, as you say, MVG still very solid at the top of the market. Don't really see him getting much shorter. Even if he wasn't to win at the Grand Slam or the Players' Championship finals, you can't really see MVG going out any bigger than 5 to 1. Where, you know, in years gone by, we've seen him at that 11 to 2, 6 to 1 kind of price for the Worlds. Gerwyn Price, an early exit last week at the European Championship. I think his going off price is going to be largely dictated by whether he can return to form, especially at the Grand Slam. I think there'll be all eyes on him at the Grand Slam. If he was to exit at the group stage, we may see a little bit of a drift on price. But he's never going to get too short, because if he goes out to 8s or 9s, then all the tipsters will be putting him
People
forward as
like
their
me will
main
back him.
selection.
Okay.
You know, and there is a line with these players where if they get too big, you just have to back them. The big three. By the same logic, I think, you know, if there's a disparity between Price and MVG versus Peter Wright, you'll see a lot of the tipsters lean towards Peter Wright, and he is the reigning champion after all. So yeah, I mean, obvious cases for those three. I think we discussed it on our European Championship video briefly, but last year this was very much a 4-horse race at the top of the market, with Johnny Clayton in at 8-9 to 1 for glory. It's been a tough year for the Ferret by his high standards of last year. He's now drifted out into the teens. He may well continue to drift, although I would expect backers to come for Clayton late. He's a very popular player and a very talented player, and he only went out to a masterful Michael Smith performance last year. Michael Smith is a one that I could see a little bit of money coming for. He's had a really good year, winning 4 or 5 events and losing in 2 or 3 more finals. He lost in the European Championship final. And, you know, it pays to go with Michael Smith each way. Yeah, he doesn't always get the job done, but he's always seems to be there in the latter stages. And we've spoke about how he seems to be changing his mindset with finals, not beating himself up too much. Wouldn't be a great surprise to see Bully Boy crack his maiden tag at the World Championship, to be quite honest with you. And then, yeah, some of the others that have moved in recent months. Dirk van Dijvenbode, money's come for him. I know you've been banging the Dirk drum all year, Adam, and I think that's been proved to be right. I mean, he keeps getting himself in the latter stages of Euro Tours. He's won Pro Tours, made Pro Tour finals. So he's as talented as anybody. Whether he can hold it together in the latter stages over an extended set format without having an erratic dip remains to be seen, but he's certainly an interesting runner. We spoke about Luke Humphries earlier in the year. Money came for him at the start of the year. He's a very much a live runner now. And yeah, I guess the other mover that I would highlight would be Ross Smith, the European champion. What has been as big as 250s earlier in the year, you're now probably not going to get any better than 80s. Wouldn't be surprised to see him come into that 66s, 50s region, maybe even shorter if he can follow it up at the Grand Slam. We know what a first win can do for a player at times.
Absolutely. There's obviously, we could be here all night, Pie Man. There's all sorts of interesting runners. There's 2 or 3 in there, Pie Man, that I think we probably flagged in our. We've been doing World Championship updates since as far back as February, believe it or not, on the channel. And I think that's a good thing to do, as you can track the prices over time. There's 2 or 3 players that I would have had my eye on that haven't really cracked on as much as I wanted them to. Luke Humphries is definitely one of those. I've backed Luke Humphries at 25, 20 to 1. That is definitely been stated on the channel. He's now 16. But since he made the move to a 20 to 1 shot, and for good reason, winning all sorts of Euro Tours at the first in the first half of this year, he's been to a couple of tournaments now, and he's disappointed. The Grand Prix was being one of those where he went out first round. I think that was to Aspinall. He's disappointed me, although it was a quarter final in the European Championships over the weekend, the way he basically capitulated. I would have liked to have seen Humphries have done more to validate my position. I'm already committed. I'm already on at 25 to 1. I would have liked him to have done a bit more. He's still got opportunity to do so at the Grand Slam and the Players' Championship finals. Another man that kind of fits that description, Damon Heta, friend of the channel. Again, this year, we would have been surprised, Pie Man, if we'd have done a video at the start of this year. I know he's won the World Cup. If we'd have done a video at the start of this year and said by November the 1st, 2022, and Damon Heta still not made a big TV semi-final or final, that's got to be a little bit disappointing on the face of it. But he's the leader of the pack on the Players' Championship on the Pro Tour Order of Merit, so it's not all bad. He's 50 to 1. You could have envisaged him being shorter at the start of the year at this period in time. Let's put it that way. There was a couple that to call out there, and the final one for me, Joe Cullen. At the end of May, and only 5 months ago, at the end of May, Joe Cullen missed the dart to win the Premier League. He's now 40 to 1. I think that's too big as the face of it as I look at it now. You've got the likes of Cross, Noppert, Aspinall, Rock, and Vandenberg. I would go as far as Vandenberg as well, and maybe even Humphries on current form. I don't see why Joe Cullen is a bigger price or the same price as those guys. We know they can all beat each other on any given day, Pie Man, but I do think in that 40s range, Joe Cullen looks the value at the minute. And you've mentioned Dirk. I know I've been banging on about him. A couple of the lesser known suppliers on Oddschecker, shall we say, are still 40 to 1 about Dirk. If that is available after the draw's out, that is surely to get some interest from people like myself. Is there anyone, Pie Man? I think I know where you're going with this, to call out at this stage at a bigger price, what we usually used to refer to and still can as the Pie Man bomb.
Oh, I think most of those have dried up now, to be honest. I mean, nearer the time, I will have a proper look at the back end of the market. I mean, it's only right that I give a mention to Gary Anderson at 51. You know, I mean, we haven't mentioned Gary all night. You know, showing an absolute renaissance of form in recent weeks on the Players' Championship events. You know, I'd be very interested to see how Gary comes into the World Championship. His favourite format, of course. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, look, Eddie Lewis has shown a little bit of something at 150s. I could see why people would be interested in him. I think Chris Dobey won't be 80 to 1 for much longer. He's showing some good form on the floor. And yeah, beyond that, there's probably not many that I will be backing from a win perspective, but plenty of interesting runners for when we do our in-depth stuff later in the year.
Absolutely, and the first round games and the second round games as well is where, you know, the likes of that we flag all year through Players Championships that might not be going on to win the tournament. They might not have a realistic chance of winning, but the likes of the Schindlers, the Rowby John Rodriguez that Pyman's been talking about all year, the Scott Williams,
Yeah, Robin needs a mention.
We can get on board with them in match prices against, you know, maybe better well names like, you know, if Rowby John draws Daryl Gurney in the first round, you're going to be on Rowby John, aren't you, for example? But anyway,
that's why you need to stick to the channel during December.
Exactly, stick to the channel. Pyman's going to have you singles, outright, doubles, specials. The lot will be covered on the channel. Plenty of content to come. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back soon with more World Championship darts action.